My name is Nwele Lovet Udochukwu. I'm from Node Secondary School representing Ebonyi local government. I'm very happy to qualify for the semi-finals. I mean, it's been God's grace all this while, and I hope that God will continue being with me. I would like to thank the One Youth Spark Nation for giving me this opportunity to participate in this debate. I mean, not only the opportunity, but they filled my pocket, because during our cluster meeting, the business entrepreneurs, because of a question I answered, the man who took us on the cluster meeting, Mr. Kenechku, offered me 10,000 naira and one other girl. So I want to thank them for everything, and I believe that by God's grace, I will emerge at the top. Thank you.
My name is Manuel Goodness. I am from St. Andrew's Presbyterian Secondary School representing Ohozari local government area. My experience so far in this boot camp has been quite impactful. We learned about business and entrepreneurship. We learned that a good entrepreneur is one who recognizes the business opportunities around him and who is ready to take risks, take the first step in his business, innovative. The experience so far has been quite breathtaking. It has been quite impactful and empowering. I've been in the semi-finals. Honestly, it has just been the grace of God, because the tension on the stage has been quite high for many students. We sincerely hope that as we proceed to the semi-finals, that God's grace will be upon our lives to be able to proceed to the finals. Once again, I will not fail to thank the One Youth Spark Nation 1.0 for giving us the opportunity to be here right now. Thank you so much. We promise not to fail you. Thank you very much.
My name is Izogo Samson. I'm from Ebonyi local government area of Ebonyi State. The name of my school is St. Thomas Aquinas Secondary School of Agbaja. So I'm very grateful to God for being with me to qualify for the semi-finals of this debate. And I'm also very happy that by the grace of God, I must emerge as the winner of this 2024 One Youth Global Debate Competition. I personally want to thank One Youth Global Spark Nation 1.0, especially Master Uchechukwu Agbo, the brain behind One Youth Global, and the coordinators, the volunteers, and all those that are coordinating this One Youth Global. And the good Lord continue to strengthen them.
My name is Mwafo Chioma Anastasia Bete. I'm from City Salt College, Ezana local government area. I'm a debater. I'm here to represent my local government. Well, we have been here for the past 5 days, and it has been very, very interesting and thrilling. Like, especially the clusters and the team meeting, where you have to meet many facilitators and scholars who have been impacted by the influence from the One Youth Spark Nation organization. And also, the debates, we are now at the semi-final level. And I hope and I pray that God will help me so that I can make it to the final level.
My name is Aja Chinazem. I'm from First Brain Academic School in Ivo local government area. I'm a debater. I would like to appreciate God for his opportunities and mercies, because if not for the mercies of God, we would have not been here. Qualifying for this debate semi-finals, I know it's by the grace of God, and I pray that he gives us the grace more to go on. And then I will try my best to put in my best and everything I have to qualify for the final and also winning.
My name is Obasi Confidence. I'm from Community High School Uburu, representing Ohozari local government area. My experience in this boot camp has been inspiring and excellent, especially in the business and entrepreneurship section. My facilitator has made me to understand that if you want to start up a business, that you have to start small. From small, you can enlarge and scale big. I have actually learned so many other things in this boot camp. I'm also grateful for the opportunity to be here to participate in this debate. Actually, qualifying for the semi-final is, I don't have words to express, but it's just sweet. It's just sweet to qualify for the semi-final.
Ladies and gentlemen, this round will have each speaker speaking for 5 minutes and 1 minute for case summary. Let's make welcome first speaker. Proposition. Here. Come on, guys. Here.
Good day, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Goodness. I am representing Ohozore local government area. I will be speaking in support of the motion. This, in view of the current GDP, this House, as the Ebonyi State government, will borrow funds. GDP is an acronym for Gross Domestic Product, which is the monetary measure of market values of goods and services produced and rendered within a specific period of a country or countries. Considering the current economic condition of our state, Ebonyi, it is the right step in the right direction to borrow funds. Why? Reasons for borrowing funds are the following. Firstly, by borrowing funds, we can finance large projects. I know many people might say that our state, Ebonyi, is well developed with infrastructures, but currently the major infrastructure in our state, Ebonyi, is the roads. Our former governor, His Excellency Dave Umahi, who did an excellent job in developing his the state by building roads and infrastructure. But infrastructure is not the only development needed in a state. We need good hospitals that are well equipped. We need good schools that are well equipped. And we even need the equipment of the security sector with proper ammunition that can help us to fight against insurgents and insecurity. If all these places are well equipped, to equip them, to invest in them, we all need funds. And that is why the government needs to borrow the funds. Secondly, the government borrows funds to help to meet the demands of the people, to create job opportunities, and to support struggling businesses. As of the year 2021, the Ebonyi State government launched a digital online program which disbursed loans of $169,427 to 609 farmers. This was to support the growth of the agricultural sector by helping these farmers grow and develop their farms, which help contribute to the development of the agricultural sector of our state. I know many people might think that borrowing is wrong, borrowing sounds so bad to them, but economically in business, borrowing is actually called leveraging. What is leveraging? It is the act of putting borrowed funds into a business to help to develop the business, to gain profits and pay back. So by borrowing money, the Ebonyi State government can invest in the economic state of our country, which can help to increase the country financially. Thirdly, they borrow money so as to protect their people from the burden of overtaxation. Instead of taxing the citizens, instead of taxing the people of the state, they borrow the funds because the government cares about their people. People who cannot avoid 3 square meals, how would they be able to bear the burden of overtaxation, cutting their daily income? The government does not want their people to suffer such burdens. Fourthly, most countries, states, organizations, groups, all indulge in this method of borrowing funds. Even our most well-developed countries like China, Germany, Japan, which are known as the Asian tigers, South Korea, even the US, have at one point in time of their growth in climbing the financial status, borrowed funds from other states to help to grow their country economically. Even multinational businesses develop this method to grow their businesses. We have the Dangote group of companies, which is one of the largest companies, not only in Nigeria or West Africa, but in Africa as a whole. At one point of their journey of economic dependence, they have borrowed funds to help to build their company financially, which is showing presently today. Most people think that by borrowing money, the Ebonyi State government would want to embezzle the funds, they would want to eat up the money, but that is not true. Actually, they are doing it for the benefit of their citizens, of their people, so that they can grow, to provide necessary infrastructure, to help to develop the economy of their state. Funds from other states is a step in the right direction to building the economy of our state, Ebonyi. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for first speaker proposition. Here. Let's make welcome quickly first speaker on the motion for round 1 in semi-finals. Here.
Panel, this debate is an actor-stroke policy motion. Therefore, the burden is on the side proposition to show us their model on how to successfully borrow. We expected them to show us, one, the credit-worthiness of a Ebonyi State government to obtain loan. Also, a clear-cut map on how to borrow and how to manage these resources to avoid it being tampered with by corrupt individuals who are the helm of affairs and manage the cash inflow and outflow in the Ebonyi State government. All this they failed to do. Hence, the argument falls flat in the face of logic. Panel, the first point of framing is that we tactically concede that Ebonyi State is one of the poorest states in Nigeria. Also, Ebonyi State is one of the states that received the least revenue allocation. In addition, Ebonyi State has failed to pay up its accumulated debts. An example is the one borrowed by the former governor, Engineer Dave Umezumahi, from the Islamic Bank to build Ring Road. Panel, the question in today's debate is, what is the solution to the issues surrounding GDP in Ebonyi State? The response we got from a side proposition was borrowing. However, I would like to tell you why borrowing is fundamentally bad for Ebonyi State government. Firstly, borrowing will increase the amount of the debts owed by government, thereby making it impossible for them to pay. Why? Because the revenue that Ebonyi State gets is small and not enough to pay the interest that comes with borrowing. Also, it dents the image of Ebonyi State because when investors discover the huge amount of money that Ebonyi State is owing, it will discourage them from investing in Ebonyi State. Panel, this is a case of robbing Peter to pay Paul because the disadvantages of borrowing is greater than its advantages and not as exaggerated by the side proposition. Panel, on the counterfactual, the solution to the issues of GDP in Ebonyi State includes, one, resuscitating dead industries in Ebonyi State, like the Niger cement industry in Kalago, the Oferekpe water scheme in Ikwo, and other industries which are multi-billion projects abandoned by Ebonyi State government. Secondly, investing in agriculture. This can be done by providing farmer subsidy and other agricultural benefits, and even providing technology machines that will help to make agriculture better and bigger. The side proposition may want to ask, how can we generate money for this? We can generate money by, one, the frugal management of resources. The frugal management of resources and not using it for unnecessary projects. Just like the present governor who bought cars and is currently building duplexes for all the traditional rulers in Ebonyi State. This is unnecessary and a waste of resources that can be channeled to other sectors of the economy. Secondly, engaging expert economists who will help to curtail the expenses of the government and also tell them how to manage their resources. Panel, the biggest solution to the issue of GDP in Ebonyi State is dealing with corruption. This is because when you borrow money and you have corrupt people who manage this money, they will divert it to their own personal interest. Even if you don't want to borrow, the ones they have, they'll use it for their own selfish interest. Panel, how we can deal with corruption is by, one, voting in the right people into the right positions. Secondly, periodic financial audits that can be held across agencies in Ebonyi State, and this will be held by national televisions and radio stations. This will help the citizens to hold the government responsible for their actions. In conclusion, panel, we believe that the major focus of government is to pay up its tax and to maximize resources at their doorstep. At this juncture, I'm proud to oppose. Thank you.
Here, here. First speaker, opposition, ladies and gentlemen. All right, for the semi-finals, let's make welcome second speaker, proposition for their team case consolidation. Here, here.
Standing on the already established protocol, my name is Obasi Confidence, proposing the motion that says, in view of the current GDP, the House, as the Ebonyi State government, will borrow funds. I would like to continue from where my colleagues stopped, telling you the reasons why the Ebonyi State government borrow funds. Firstly, Ebonyi State government, as an agricultural producer, borrow funds to invest in agricultural infrastructure, development, and technologies like state lights, cassava and yam processing machines, and so many other machines to boost the productivity and the agricultural sectors. Secondly, the Ebonyi State government borrow Secondly, the Ebonyi State government borrow money.
Please take your time. Take your time.
Secondly, the Ebonyi State government borrow money to meet financial obligations of the individuals, of the people in the state, like paying salaries of teachers, pensions, paying for infrastructure maintenance, paying for security, paying for subsidies, paying for public services, and so on and so forth. Okay. Thirdly, the Ebonyi State government borrow. How you call? The Ebonyi State government The Ebonyi State government borrow to solve the emergency needs of his people, like public crises, fire outbreaks, and flooding. For example, June 2023, there was a flood here in Ebonyi State, affecting local governments like Ikwo, Eza, and Afikpo, and Ohozora, respectively. These solutions, they are borrowing money. The money they borrow is to create solutions. This is to rehabilitate the effects it has created on these areas. Furthermore, taking advantages taking advantages in emerging opportunities in situations where the state sees new opportunities or projects to work on, and they don't have enough money in their purse to take these projects and work on them. They will have to borrow from other organizations so that they can be able to work on this project. With this and more, I hope that I'll be able to convince you and not to confuse you that the Ebonyi State government should borrow money and borrow more funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Second Speaker Proposition. Let's quickly make welcome Second Speaker Opposition for their team case building. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, as assigned to be my chief speaker,
I shall be throwing more light on the socio-economic aspect of today's motion, debunking and rebutting all the fallacious points that will be bombarded by the team proposition in the course of their argument, and also reaffirming our team's case. To start with, notice that my chief speaker has comprehensively told you that the reason why the Ebonyi State government should not borrow money is because, firstly, Ebonyi State is poor. What does this mean? If the Ebonyi State government should borrow money, then the money in Ebonyi State purse, if they should remove this money as interest to refund the money back to those whom they borrowed it, then it affects the economy of the state, because they will first of all embezzle the money and then overtax the citizens, and this will affect the economy of the state. She also told, how can this be possible? We need to improve the agricultural sectors of the state, reduce corruption, and also invest in local business. And also invest in local business. You cannot get out of poverty through borrowing. In fact, borrowing freezes you in poverty, because you have to borrow to pay what you have borrowed. She also made the people know that the reason why the Ebonyi State government should not borrow money is because they do not have good leaders, such as Mr. Peter Obi. She noticed to people that the major problem of Ebonyi State government is lack of management of funds. That Ebonyi State government, that if they cannot manage state allocation, even if they should borrow this money, they will not be able to manage it, and this will affect the economy of our state. Here are some additional substantives to our claims. 1. Long-term consequences. If the Ebonyi State government should borrow loans, then if Ebonyi State government should borrow loans, new administration will find it easy, will find it difficult to pay this debt, and this will lead to political and economic instability. Moreover, high interest rates. If the Ebonyi State government should borrow this money, the interest that they will be asked to put this money will be very high, and this affects the economy of Ebonyi State. I heard my team opponent saying that, I heard the team proposition saying that the Ebonyi State government borrow money to improve the economy of the state. Now, according to the law of motion, it states that anything that goes up must surely come down. But according to the law of Ebonyi State, anything that goes up will continue rising. Tell me, how can a bag of cement that was sold at the cost of 6,000 naira is now over 15,000 naira? And you tell me that the government borrow money to improve the economy. They also say that the government borrow money to create job opportunities. Why people in office bribe the government to reduce their date of birth so that they could also stay more in office and make money? Why over 500 students graduate in University of Ebonyi State every year? Students will be roaming about the streets searching for job. Why the government will be taking bribes for people to stay longer in office? I also hear them say that governments borrow money to improve the farming agricultural standards. But let me tell you, it's only Ebonyi State that have seen farmers using hoe to cultivate. But if you go to other states, they are practicing commercial agriculture. They are using tractors. No, I'm not sure that there is any state apart from Ebonyi State using hoes to cultivate. And the team proposition are saying that the government are borrowing money to improve the economic standard. Panel, this point is irrelevant and should not be regarded in this debate. Why do I also say that the government should not borrow money? They lack transparency and accountability. If the Ebonyi State government should borrow this money, they will embezzle it, and they will not show us the accounts of how the money was used. Rather, they will share the money amongst themselves and use it, and they will export the money into their foreign accounts, and we the citizens will be suffering. In conclusion, I strongly stand as an Iroko tree to say that the government of Ebonyi State should not borrow money, that we all should struggle on our own and bring out what we eat. Because if if the government of Ebonyi State should borrow money, they are suffering we, the younger youth, because when we grow up, we'll be the one to pay this money. I want to let you know now that...
Your time is up. Here.
Thank you.
Here. All right, thank you, Second Speaker, Team Opposition. Please, I don't know what's happening at the back, but what we're having in this round is not good. Please, I want to appeal this for the last time. Please, this hall is rowdy and it's not nice. Let's make welcome First Speaker, Team Proposition for their case summary. Here.
Thank you, this noble house, for giving me another opportunity. I'm here to reaffirm my point, saying that the Ebonyi State government should actually borrow money to help to improve the economic growth of our country. Firstly, I heard my opponent saying that Ebonyi is one of the poorest states in our country. Shouldn't that be the more reason why we should borrow funds to help to improve our economy? I also heard them saying that it would help if they were to borrow money, then they would embezzle all their funds. Every fund that is being taken or entering the purse of Ebonyi State isn't not being accounted for. We all have eyes. The funds that enter Ebonyi State government, don't they not use it to carry out projects? Even our current Governor Francis Wiforogbonnaya, clearly stated and denied the accusations made by people saying that Ebonyi State is in debt. He agreed, yes, that they did borrow money, but they used it, invested in their economy, made profit, and were able to pay back. With all this, Ebonyi State borrowing funds helps us to improve infrastructure, like what my opponents like what my colleague said. It helps to improve us. So with all this, I strongly believe that Ebonyi State should borrow money to improve their economy. Thank you.
Here. First Speaker, Proposition. Thank you for that team summary. Let's make welcome First Speaker, Opposition, for their team case. For their summary. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me another opportunity to recapitulate my points. I would like to rebut the points of my friends in argument. Firstly, the first speaker from the side proposition said that the government borrows money in order to help meet the demands of the citizens. We feel that this argument is false because she did not give any evidence to show that this is really true. Also, the corrupt people who are in charge of the cash inflows and outflows in Ebonyi State divert this money for their own selfish interest, and they don't have the masses at heart. That is why we still have people who are the poorest of the poor in Ebonyi State. Also, she said that borrowing money helps to reduce taxation. This argument is baseless because there is no evidence to show that it reduced taxation. The recent one that has been borrowed never in any way reduced taxation. Also, she failed to give us a citation as a proof that the government borrow money to reduce citation. In conclusion, after careful analysis of the motion at hand, I strongly believe that we carry the day in today's argument, not minding the anti-rhetorical appraisals raised by the side proposition in the course of their argument. I'm proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, First Speaker, Opposition, for that team case summary. Ladies and gentlemen, that's round one for the semi-finals of Spark Nation 1.0 debate competition. Let's give it up for the teams. Here. All right, our adjudication will be ready in 2 minutes. Affirmation began by what they know or believe to be, or what is GDP. She said reasons for borrowing includes one, that we need infrastructural development in the state. That the only infrastructure existing at the moment is road, basically, as constructed by the former governor. She said we need to borrow to equip infrastructure sectors such as other infrastructures like health and security. Number 2, she said the state government would have to borrow to create employment and support existing businesses, which will boost the economy of the state. Now, the entirety of their team case was on economic boost within the state. That's the reason the government is borrowing these funds. Right? She went further to say borrowing is leveraging, that multinationals that other big guys also borrow, not just about Ebonyi State being a small or a poor state. That even the big boys also borrow funds. Did we hear that? All right. She went further to say that the state government will borrow in an attempt to protect citizens from overpopulation because poverty is already on the rise within the state. So instead of taxing the citizens from the meager salaries and earnings they are getting, let us borrow as the state government to use to fund our projects and other necessities. Lastly, in her case or argument, she gave us something strong, we felt that was strong for her session. She said that other people also borrow. So it's not necessarily a problem to borrow because even the big boys, she mentioned US, China, even multinationals like Aliko Dangote group of companies and co also borrow to empower their businesses at critical stage in their business development and growth. All right, that was first speaker affirmation. Now, first of all, let me establish that the team case wasn't well structured. There was no team structure, and the only argument we felt that was standing strong in her speech was that of others also borrowing, and opposition did not engage that point. Now, for the first speaker, opposition, she began by drawing the attention of the panel to the fact that affirmation did not state the credit worthiness of Ebonyi State to borrow loans at the time, 1. 2, they failed to show how the state government were going to manage these resources to avoid embezzlement and mismanagement. Before I call the team scores, speaker points, and announce the winner, first of all, this was a policy motion. There are motions known as policy motions. What gave it away as a policy motion is the word will. That word will there makes it a policy motion. All right? This is where you need to study types of motions. Okay? Now, let me repeat this. Hello, the young man from Ezano, to leave the hall. Get him out of the hall. It's not about who gets a medal, who gets a trophy, or who gets a certain prize. It's about coming here to learn and get ready for what's ahead. Are we good? Are we good? All right. I hope you know that. I think. This is for me and for the vision bearer and for us at the board of One Youth is this. See, the medal, the prize you are getting now is nothing compared to what you could get if you maximize what we are showing you here and teaching you here. Go back home, work on it, and position yourself for bigger opportunities. Are we together? The kind of men that showed up in this boot camp, you do not even know half of their portfolio. Mr. Uche Ogechukwu that showed up here earlier in the day told you, he didn't tell you the full story. Let me just give you a giveaway. That man you saw in the afternoon, his company recently got, in 2022 rather, not recently, in 2022, got £1 million from the UK. He told you for £500,000, right? I think that's what he said, right? You were not paying attention. I was not even in the hall. He said 500,000. Now, that was because when I came back, I asked what happened while I was away. That was just half of the story. They got 500,000 and later they also got £1 million from the UK government. And his company is in Enugu here. The way you saw him looking so simple. Some of you volunteers that were at the back, he was telling you, give me food. You gave him, he said, let me just say thank you, do like that. You do not know the kind of men that have showed up here. As I speak to you, a student here has been spotted by one of the men that showed up and he has picked interest in him for scholarship. Yes, aside the one we are doing. These are the ones I'm aware of. I do not know the ones others may be planning. Now, this is just for the boot camp. You go back home and begin to work on yourself, get better. You still have next year, you have next 2 years. Even if it is not One Youth. The state government, recently, I think I heard, if I'm correct, that the First Lady of the state is currently hosting debate and quiz competition across the 13 local governments. Is that correct? Is that true? Okay, they've not started. They are planning. All right. So you never can tell. So what we are doing here is more of equipping us to go back home and build on what we've had. So that's why the feedbacks we give you at the end of the round is of utmost importance. Now you go home, study types of motions, study debating styles, all right, and all whatnot. Maybe we'll have time. I think that was Mrs. Udu, if I'm correct. Yes, at the local government woman that was saying their school will pay me. When I was saying, yes. When I was saying, if you could pay me to come and be a teacher in your school so that I can teach your students debate. All right. Now, let me give this as feedback to team affirmative. Number one, you would have shown us that you were going to borrow loans with the lowest interest rates. And if possible, zero interest rates. Such loans exist. Are we together? That would have disarmed opposition's argument about paying back the loans we borrow. Okay, number two. Now, okay, inside that, number two, they could have argued, told the line of, we could borrow even internally. Such facilities exist. All right, such facilities exist. If you follow the funeral, what's it called? This 1 week stuff they did for the Access Bank manager, Access Bank owner. The funeral week or whatever that they held for Access Bank. Thank you, sir. Yeah, for that 1 week, you hear them coming to speak, even Governor Sanwo-Olu and all of that. You hear some of them telling you how they needed loans and we gave them loans. Those loans were zero rates. You could borrow internally. You could use your friends to borrow. The state have billionaires like Annie Chuks. The state have billionaires that we could go to and ask them, lend us money internally at flat rates. Once I run that line, at least I have removed the opposition from bringing anything on high interest rates. Are we good now? Are we good? Are we learning at all? All right. Number two, where are we borrowing for? Okay, I think I've answered that too. Now, repayment modalities. How are we repaying these loans? Are we repaying with our mineral resources? Opposition didn't even bring that up. Because if I'm in opposition, I'll bring that up. It's currently happening across Africa. Congo DRC is paying with their mineral resources. Heavily paying with their mineral resources. You have countries like where's these guys that mine gold apart from Ghana? Not South Africa. There's this African country here. Many of them, even Niger, the French almost totally in charge of the Niger. I hope you know that all the Francophone countries in West Africa have their reserves in France. All. It's a terrible situation. So these people keep giving us loans, keep giving us aids, keep giving us vaccines, and pretending to be the good big brothers. But they are actually the bad guys, the devils. They are controlling our resources. So opposition would have even argued to worsen affirmation's case that are you trying to borrow to give away Ebonyi State lead, to give away Ebonyi State salt, and all of those things. So you would have explained repayment modalities. Are we repaying with our mineral resources? Are we repaying with our allocation? Are we repaying by taxing our people? How are we repaying? Repayment modalities. Number three, measures to mitigate embezzlement. Affirmation should have put in place, should have considered how do we make sure that this money we borrow does not get embezzled. Remember, this house, in view of the current GDP rate, will borrow. So if the GDP is already low, as opposition showed us, that is because of mismanagement of resources, lack of frugality. What's the evidence? How do you assure us that if we borrow funds, you will still not mismanage them? And also, what are the strongest reasons for borrowing? Not just reasons to borrow. What are the strongest reasons to borrow? They told us basically that it's just economic boost. We just want to boost the economy. Okay? They didn't begin to show us if we borrow, we'll invest in agriculture and do this and do that and do this. If we borrow, let me say this. We've said it through this tournament. If you give if you say something and you don't build on it, it doesn't count for you. Are we good? And on the part of that agriculture and even what they will do with the money on economy, opposition totally trashed it. Okay, I'll come to that. They would have also given us the comparative analysis. And the comparative analysis is this. The best comparative analysis I personally can think of now is the United States. Currently in the world, US is the country with the highest debt profile. Yes, America has the highest debt profile in the world. Over $1 trillion in debt. They are the biggest country in the world, but they are also the ones owing the most. So owing or borrowing is not bad. If they had argued, they would have disarmed all this argument about borrowing is bad, borrowing is bad, borrowing is bad. Borrowing is not bad. Currently in Africa, Dangote used to be known as, because someone else has taken over, used to be known as the richest man in Africa. The same Dangote is also one of the, has the highest debt profile in Nigeria. Dangote is owing CBN over $10 billion. Borrowing is not bad, provided you borrow to leverage. They had mentioned that leveraging, but they didn't build that case. Are we good? Okay, affirmation first speaker is 60 points. Here. The speaker points for opposition first speaker 80 points. Here. Sorry, 85 points. Here. Let me recap what she did. She began by drawing the attention of the panel to what affirmation should have done. I read it here, right? She told us, they should have told us what is the credit worthiness of the state government for borrowing. So she understood their job, and she drew our attention to it. This is what they're supposed to have done. Number two, she told us how would they have managed these resources. This is what they should have argued. All right. So she told us, she gave us solution to GDP, frugality, and the rest. And she told us reasons why borrowing is bad. And she told us she tactically considered and how to raise funds. That was a strong one. Speaker points for second speaker affirmative 50 points. Here. And speaker points for second speaker opposition 65 points. Here. That being said, the team average for affirmation is 55 points. Here. And the team average for opposition is 75 points. Here. Ladies and gentlemen, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, the best speaker for the round is first speaker opposition. Let's give it to the teams. Here. All right, thank you for that wonderful outing, Ohosara and Ebonyi local government. All right. So as it stands now, we already have a team heading to the finals. Ebonyi local government. Here.
Having me back on the stage. I'm the first proposing speaker. I'm the first speaker from the proposing side. I'm here to speak on the motion we state. This House of the Federal Government of Nigeria will temporarily ban importation of non-essential goods. And I will guess that if you understand this topic, they say temporarily, that is for a limited point in time. And when we talk about non-essential goods are goods that are not basic. They are not needed for you to survive. They are not the basic need. They are not the basic things you need now. Actually, I will drive this to a stand with the following points of mine. Firstly, trade precipitation or imbalance. Secondly, it will reduce the importance of our domestic products. Lastly, I will actually emphasize on the fact of overdependence on global or foreign markets. And I will support it with these motions. If we depend on them, we will actually lack our integrity as a nation. Imagine a situation whereby Nigerian, it has an increase it has, especially in trade. We had last year, 2023, that is trade imbalance. I'm talking on trade imbalance. We had a total trade imbalance of 1,415 billion naira and a lower rate in export of 99.6%. What does it mean? Where we are having 163.1% in import, what impact are we making in the life of individuals? And then over dependence, this is actually the reason of inflation rate in the country. Do you know that you can date that back? During the time when inflation rate is high, what actually brought about this? And then we talked about of the valuation of goods, that is our domestic industries. This brings about and disappreciates the value that the entrepreneurs in our country are trying to bring back home. This is actually bringing down their morale. What they have to make, the impact they want to make in the life of individuals. They want to make our country a better place. Yet, the community is not giving them an opportunity. Why?
because they prefer goods that are prepared abroad. They prefer imported goods. They prefer goods that are outside the country. Imagine toothpick. Nigeria is demanding for toothpick outside the country. Even though we have bamboo trees, both in the western and the eastern and the southern region of Nigeria, we have it and we can produce it. Can I get your point of information?
Thank you, my worthy opponent. You claim that importing non-essential goods increase inflation. Did you know what non-essential goods is? Non-essential goods, excuse me.
You just asked a question. Non-essential goods are goods as I have defined. Non-essential goods are goods that are not basically needed in the life of individuals. What do you need skincare products for? Creams that will destroy your skin, what do you need it for? Where we have basically and locally produced cream that will help in nourishing your skin. Creams that are made of aloe vera, creams that are made of lanolin, creams that are made of natural wax that will improve the texture of your skin. Why do you need all those things? Why do you need perfume that contains chemicals that will give you bad body odor? Why do you need some of all those electronics that will let you to combat, that will let you to commit yourself into Yahoo and the rest of them that is destroying the future of the citizens? And actually, let me give you the solution to this. Firstly, we need phase prioritization. Why? We have to prioritize. We have to recognize our goods. Secondly, we need support. When these goods are temporarily banned, not forever, I mean temporarily. When they are banned temporarily, we need to support, not just financially, but with advice. I said advice. Did you hear that? With advice, organizing, retraining activities that will train those people that are failing in business, that this thing is affecting, so that they can come up and make better things. Because in Nigeria, we are in need. We are in need of many things that those people can produce. Let me leave you with a question, my audience. What is the essence of organizing an entrepreneur cluster here? Whereas if you go out tomorrow and become an entrepreneur, not just an entrepreneur, but an established one, and after producing your products, your country people, they don't value it. What is the essence? Well, I rest my case.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was first speaker team affirmation for the second round of the semi-finals. Let's make welcome the first speaker opposition for their team case. Here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, and my worthy audience, even my worthy opponent. Well, I heard her make mention of inflation. Did you know that before I proceed, I am standing here to oppose the motion that this house, as the federal government of Nigeria, will temporarily ban importation of non-essential goods. What is the keywords here? Number one, temporarily, which means not permanent. Ban, to forbid. Importation, to bring foreign goods into our country. Non-essential. Not essential simply means not absolutely necessary. Something not being absolutely necessary doesn't mean it is not necessary. Taking to that point, she made mention of inflation. I stand to say that federal government should not by any means take decision of banning non-essential goods. Making mention of inflation, what brought inflation in a country is a state whereby there is no equipment in raising agriculture and increasing our productivity. These non-essential goods are machines, motors, transportational equipment. Who among you here is not enjoying the serenity of this environment? It is the work of non-essential goods. Moving further, she talks about independence. Nigeria is not independent. We cannot produce anything without those non-essential goods. Example, how can we mine our rock without those big machines? How can we refine our oil without refinery? So making mention of saying that Nigeria should ban importation of non-essential goods is indirectly telling us that Nigeria should go back to poverty and increase inflation rate. Debunk and baseless point. Inflation is out of it. Thank you. Can I have your point?
You made mention that Nigeria is independent. My dear audience, when did Nigeria become independent? And wait, you should also note it that.
Well, we are talking about economic independence, not state independence. Nigeria is not independent when it comes economically. First point of my number one, GDP. The gross domestic product of Nigeria is 252.748, while South Africa is $683 trillion, while ordinary Egypt has $347.738 billion. In this analysis comparison, you will find out that Nigeria is the lowest. All these countries are even higher than Nigeria when it comes to GDP, but they are still importing non-essential goods. If Nigeria should not import non-essential goods, it will lead to, do you know how much that Nigeria gets in importing duties? The import duties we got in our war increase our revenue, which the government use in building road. Secondly, the trade balance of trade. When we talk of balance of trade, it simply means the difference between the national monetary value between export and import at a particular period of time. Nigeria import, the rate of importation of Nigeria to Asia is 29. When they import those non-essential goods, they use it to produce and invest in their agricultural produce and export up to 49% in agricultural products, thereby boosting their economy. If we did not import those non-essential goods, tell me, my worthy opponent, Nigeria cannot even provide matches. Thank you, you confirm it yourself. How can we live if you don't even have matches to light our pot, to create fire, to put that food that you claim that is one of the essential? So my panels, you see that no matter what, there is no nonsense. In every nonsense, there must be sense. Thereby making this comment even to the audience that we should not encourage non-essential goods. So many of you here today are here today because of transportation. If you should come from rural area without transportation, will you trek from Ohazra, Ubru, and Ivo local government down to this place? That is a heavy work. If I'm to say, in our medical aspect, those non-essential goods are the things that are providing solution to our medical health. Anything that will happen to your health, even the good book said, anything that you use in trading this life, that life is more valuable than that. So, if you claim that Nigeria should not import those non-essential goods, that means we are playing with our life. And I am seeing reason with the honorable judges to prove to us that these people does not even understand the topic. Those non-essential goods help us to provide the essential goods like agriculturals. I hope with this following point of mine, I am able to convince you and not to convince you that Nigeria needs importation of non-essential goods. I oppose my case. Thanks.
Thank you, first speaker. Team opposition, here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is more like a debate session. This is the second round of the semi-finals. Let's welcome second speaker, Team Affirmative, here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As my first speaker has already explained the content of the motion, here are my points to strengthen it. 1. Protect national interest. 2. Encourage self-sufficiency. Lastly, consumer behavior and savings. Speaking of protecting national interest, the temporary ban of non-essential goods serves as a necessary measure in order to protect our national interest. Continued importation of non-essential goods can serve as a threat to our economic security. That is not understanding, not having a stable economic environment. 2, encouraging self-sufficiency. Producing goods that we need locally can help improve our self-sufficiency and reduce our reliance on foreign imports. Lastly, we speak on consumer behavior and savings. If Nigeria keeps importing these non-essential goods, the citizens who are the potential consumers will lose interest in the domestic products and spend higher money purchasing the imported goods. So now, one of the basic problems of Nigeria is lack of proper exchange rate. We all know that Nigeria exports more goods than it imports. So here are some basic solutions to this. One, balance of trade. I hear you mention balance of trade. Balance of trade. But do you know that the balance of trade is speaking of, if Nigeria can export more goods than it imports, there is a higher demand for Naira, which can strengthen its values relative to other countries. This is where trade deficit comes in. What is trade deficit? This is an excessive import of goods. This is an excessive import of goods from other countries. So I move. Lastly, the promoting local products. If Nigeria should provide resources to promote the local products of Nigeria, if Nigeria can provide resources to support the production of local products, there will be if Nigeria can provide, there will be reduced in the reliance from foreign exports. I stand here to propose the motion. I stand here to propose that this House, as the federal government of Nigeria, will temporarily ban importation of non-essential goods. Thank you.
Here. Thank you, Second Speaker. Team affirmation. Team affirmative, rather. Let's make welcome the Second Speaker team opposition for their team case consolidation. Here.
Standing on the already established protocol, I'm by name Ajachina Zebiri, and I'm here to support what my teammate has already said. But before I proceed, I would like to make reference to two things that my team proposition has already said. The first speaker talked about integrity, that when we import goods, that it will reduce our integrity. So are you trying to tell me that we all know that there's no country, United States of America has the highest, or it has the highest esteem. So are you trying to tell me that the United States of America do not import goods? We all know that there is no country that do not import goods. And then the second speaker talked about balance of trade, that a country's balance of trade is when the exportation is higher than the importation. So, and then you are saying that we should put a ban. So when we do not import, how is our trade going to be balanced when we do not import? We are only exporting. Will you tell me that you want to be buying something from a country that does not in return buys from you? It will discourage you. You cannot buy something from someone that does not buy from you too. I would like to proceed my points in details. We all know that first of all, security. Now, the essential goods includes electronic devices. So how does this involve in our security? How can our security agencies, such as our police officers, be able to dictate crime scenes when they did not have things like CCTV cameras and other things to note these crime scenes and the people involved in it? They will be only able to dictate these crime scenes when they have implement or what to use to dictate these crime scenes. You cannot tell me that before a crime scene will happen that a police officer will be there. But it's true, with the use of camera, they will know what happened even though they are not there. Furthermore, unemployment. Now, when we do not import goods, those people that in their aspect is on technology, those people in Nigeria that base themselves on technology, they will no longer have work to do because they have totally banned
essential goods, non-essential goods, which includes electronic devices. So when they do not have, when they close these aspects, we find out that they will no longer have anything to do, and it can even increase brain drain. We find out that people will be migrating out of the country because the people do not have the country do not engage in what they are doing. They cannot continue staying in the country and be whiling away their time. Finally, communication. Now, how can most of us cannot be here if we do not have phone to contact the organizers of this organization. We need our phones to contact them. You cannot tell me that you will be sitting down here if you do not have information on what we are doing here. And we got this information through our phone, our handsets, our television, our radios. Nigeria do not produce radio. They do not produce all these things. But it's through the importation of these things, we are able to use them as if we will not even, like we are using them as if we are the one producing them. So if we do not import all these goods, how are we going to be able to get information? We'll be going backward rather than going forward. Finally, poverty. Now, how does bounding of the importation of goods relates to poverty of a nation? When we only export goods, it will reduce the interest of people to buy our own goods, because they will expect that when they export to you, we need to import from them. We cannot only be exporting to them and then they are not importing to you. So when we do not import goods, we find out that it will reduce the interest of people to buy our own goods, and also the federal government gets revenue. They generate revenue from the import drives. So we find out that importation of goods also creates revenues to the federal government, which helps them in funding on different aspects, such as the road construction and other things in a nation. I know with this few points of mine, I've been able to confidently support what my teammate has said, that we do not need to ban importation of non-essential goods. Thanks.
Thank you, second speaker, team opposition, for that team case consolidation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome first speaker affirmative for their team case summary. Here.
My opponent here made mention, without listening perfectly, she said that we made mention that the federal government, when it bans non-essential goods, without understanding what is non-essential good. When you talk about non-essential good, we are not talking about economy, we are not talking about phones, we are not talking about radios. This radio you are talking about, the lead is actually found at Ogun State, which it is also refined and produced in Nigeria. Do you get that? You made mention of, you said that my second speaker here, you said that she said that she defined this term, temporal banning of non-essential goods. We did not say forever. We said for the meantime, so that we can meet and attain higher standards. Actually, with the points of mine, that is improving the domestic industry in Nigeria, so that things can move perfectly well. This your points are rendered baseless. Why? It is invalid. Because we are talking about non-essential goods. We are not talking about the essential goods. Because the camera we are using is essential. You're talking about this building is essential. So, I support this my motion by saying that everything they say is useless. Because, why? Because everything she made mention is essential, not non-essential.
Madam, your time is up. Thank you. First speaker, team affirmation. Lay here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have first speaker opposition already standing. Let's have you in 1 minute.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the privilege to summarize my point. Well, she talks about refining oil in Nigeria. What do we use in refining the oil? It is non-essential goods. Because talking about non-essential goods will give you the evidence that she doesn't even understand what non-essential simply means. Non-essential are those things that are not food. clothing, and shelter. Because she told my opponent that she does not understand what non-essential means. My opponent completely understands that. So I am resting my case by telling you that if Nigeria by any means ban non-essential goods, we will not develop. Even we are the people that cause white men from their country to build road for us. The panel of judges will bear me witness. If we do not have the implement, how can we refine our oil? Since Nigeria is one of the largest oil producing country, we do not even have one workable refinery. This is to prove to you that Nigeria banning non-essential goods is giving them an adverse effect in the future. I oppose my proposition. Thanks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the second round for the semi-finals happening here at Mona Bliss Hotel, Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, Nigeria. At this juncture, we will crave your indulgence for 2 minutes for our adjudication result to be ready. Thank you. In this last round, NJ has passed. All right. Well, one thing we are very sure of, is that, please, where is the division bearer? Where is Mr. Uche? Please kindly notify him. He's strictly instructed that he needed to be here when this result has been announced. Can someone kindly do that? I wouldn't want to be queried. As the chair of the round, here is the justification for the second round of the semi-finals of the Spark Nation 1.0 debates competition. From the team affirmation, first speaker, we had the following case on their part. Number one, okay, first of all, okay, sorry, sir. Number one, she established, okay, not number one now. Let's begin with this way. She established their team case to be that they are banning importation temporarily on non-essential goods. And they maintained that line of argument through the debate. And we're going to see further on that. Number one argument, trade imbalance. Did we hear that? Talk to me, Spark Nation. Did we hear that? Trade imbalance. So as it stands now, Nigeria as a state is having a trade imbalance due to over-reliance on importation. So due to excess importation. Number two, improve importance of local products. If we ban non-essential goods temporarily, we would boost the importance of locally made products. Number three, she spoke on reduction on overdependence on the global market. The emphatic word there is overdependence. There's nothing wrong with depending on the global market. China, which is one of the highest exporters in the world today, are also one of the highest importers in the world. There's nothing wrong with importation. What their own case was, over-dependent on the global market, which is bad for the image of the nation or for the sovereignty of the nation, as the case may be. She went further to say, over-dependence on importation leads to higher inflation rates. Did we hear that? Number two, okay, moving further rather, she said importation demoralizes local businesses. Did we hear that? All right. Importation leads to neglect on natural resources, where she was giving us instance of Nigeria as a nation still importing toothpicks when we have bamboo trees and all whatnot in the West. All right. She went further to proffer solutions, 2 solutions. She said, prioritization of local goods is the way forward. Let us focus more on local goods than importing non-essential goods. She went further to argue, to proffer this solution that let us have government support. And they gave us 2 kinds of support that we should expect from the government. Number one, that's if they ban these non-essential goods temporarily. Number one, financial support. Did we get that? Number 2, advice, which is knowledge support. Let the government support the masses with knowledge while we are banning these non-essential goods. In her closing speech, ladies and gentlemen, she said, what is the use of entrepreneurial training like we're having at this boot camp if at the end of the training our citizens go out there and become entrepreneurs, build businesses, and the masses will go out to import, or we import foreign goods and the masses consume those foreign goods, neglecting our local entrepreneurs. Did we hear that from her? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the case for first speaker affirmation. On the part of the first speaker opposition, we had him begin by attempting to define, by defining the terms federal government temporarily ban importation and non-essential goods. These were the 4 terms he defined. He went further to say that the fact that there is these products or goods are called non-essential do not mean or does not mean that they are not necessary. Did we get that? So they are called non-essential, but that doesn't mean they are not necessary. He went further to define non-essential goods as machineries, refinery, and stuff like cars and jewelry. And they ran with that argument through their debate round, through the round. Stay with us. 2 arguments we had from here. Number 1 is GDP. And he did a comparative analysis of the Nigerian GDP with South Africa and with Egypt. Did we get that? Okay. He stated Nigerian GDP at $252.748 billion and that of Egypt at $347.738 billion. And he said, this was now his substantiation. He said, although South Africa and Egypt has a far higher GDP than the Nigerian state, these guys still import. So why shouldn't Nigeria be importing? Now, that case is valid, but then it had a loophole that opposition affirmative should have taken advantage of. We are not arguing, the debate is not saying let's not import at all. The debate was on non-essential goods, all right? Now, moving forward, he argued import duties. That if we ban importation on non-essential goods, the Nigerian state will lose import duties or taxes. And these import taxes are essential to boosting our IGR, which will invariably impact on the GDP. Was that your case? All right. Now he went further to argue trade balance. He defined trade balance to be the difference between import and export per time. Was that your definition? Was that your definition? Okay, thank you. Now he said, this was his argument. He said, non-essential goods, if we keep importing non-essential goods, it will lead to the production of essential goods, which we will now export and generate revenue. Was that your case? Did we hear that? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, he gave us a statistics that a stat that currently Nigeria as a state is exporting 49% of agro products. That if we keep importing non-essential goods, it will lead to the production of essential goods, which will lead to higher exports and will improve our GDP. That was the argument from first speaker opposition. Moving forward, the second speaker affirmative brought in the following arguments. Number 1, protection of national interest. All right? Which he said it is necessary in curbing economic security. We didn't really get that picture clearly, although we felt this point was strong, but there was no much substantiation. Number 2, she's argued that banning importation of non-essential goods temporarily will encourage self-sufficiency. And she explained it by saying, if we have more local goods being produced, Nigeria as a state will become more self-sufficient, which is necessary to our sovereignty. The adjudication panel felt that was a strong case, and there was no engagement from opposition on that. Next, she moved forward to argue consumer behavior and savings. Ladies and gentlemen, she argued that if we continually encourage importation of non-essential goods, we will not encourage our consumers to feed on locally made products. All right. She offered 2 solutions. Number 1, she said, she spoke on balance of trade balance rather. Sorry, balance of trade, yeah. She said, there is currently a trade deficit, and more trade deficit will come if we import more than we export. The education panel felt that was strong. And secondly, she said that her solution is to promote local products, which will reduce over-reliance on foreign products. While her style was quirky, as usual, we already know her, while her style needs to be worked on, the team adjudication felt she had a strong case for the team affirmation. Ladies and gentlemen, second speaker opposition came in with a rebuttal that top countries in the world still continue importation. Now, let us draw the line. Let us make it clear. Team opposition argued more of importation generally. Did we get that? Did you notice that? Team opposition argued importation generally. All right. So while team affirmation insisted that their case is on non-essential goods. I'm happy we're following. Now she went further to argue the following. Number one, security. And she argued that gadgets necessarily, CCTV cameras, etc., are necessary for improvement of security in the country. That the security apparatus that we have, or apparatuses, anyone you choose, are necessary in curbing crime in the country. Number two, she argued unemployment. That if tech guys do not have these gadgets, their gadgets coming in, which she didn't tell us what gadgets she meant, that if tech guys do not have these gadgets coming in, they will lose their jobs, and that will lead to unemployment, and then secondly, it will lead to brain drain. Did we hear that? All right. She went further to argue communication. That if we do not bring in gadgets like the mobile phones and all of that, that we will not have communication flow and effective living within the country. She cited an example that if we did not have mobile phones, we will not contact the organizers of the Spark Nation Bootcamp and we will not be able to come here. Did we get that? Ma'am, was that your argument? All right. And lastly, she argued poverty. She said, if we do not import, other persons will not have interest in our own goods. And therefore, they will not patronize us, and that will lead to poverty within the Nigerian non-essential goods. So while we are banning those non-essential goods, we are actually importing essential goods and still making exports. So import taxes are still coming in. But we didn't count it because affirmative did not bring it in. I'm just saying this as a feedback. Now, having said this, in their team summaries, ladies and gentlemen, team affirmation rebutted the claims of team opposition thus. She said, the reason we are banning non-essential goods is for the Nigerian state to attain higher standards in production. Did we hear that? Did you argue higher standards? Essential goods, right. Not essentials, and not that we are banning importation generally. And for the team summary from team opposition, he said, we still engage expatriates. You know, those foreign workers who come here to construct goods, to construct roads for us. So why can't we keep importing? That was what we got from him in their team summary. Ladies and gentlemen, before I give you the team speaker points and the team average, let me make this clear. This house, as the federal government of Nigeria, will temporarily ban importation of non-essential goods. The motion that we just saw had a clash of definitions. Anybody that understands debates will know what I'm saying. The motion we saw just now had a clash of definitions. So throughout the debates, there was a drag between non-essential, essential, non-essential, essential. So there was a clash of debates. Opposition argued refinery. That was a big blow on their own part. These are essentials, all right? And then another big blow on team opposition was arguing that we will import non-essential to use and produce essential, which will lead to export. You do not use non-essential to produce essentials. Are we together? All right, so that made their case weak, even though affirmative did not point that out. Ladies and gentlemen, speaker points. First speaker affirmation, 80 points. Here. Ladies and gentlemen, first speaker opposition, 55 points. Here. Second speaker affirmation, 70 points. Here. And second speaker opposition, 65 points. Here. The team average for affirmation is 75 points. Affirmative rather is 75 points, and the team average for opposition is 60 points. Ladies and gentlemen, proceeding to the finals is team affirmation Ezanot local government. All right, please let's listen up. And the best speaker for the round is first speaker team affirmation. Here. We thank the audience for your cooperation. My name is C. Charles and I'm your chair. Thank you, Silas Moke. Thank you, Divine. Thank you, Chuku Success, for that wonderful job we have all done tonight. If you don't mind, we would like to draw the curtain here, and wish the teams proceeding to the finals all the best. For record's sake, we have Ezza North Local Government and Ebonyi Local Government proceeding to the finals of the Spark Nation 1.0 debate finals. Here. All right. A quick announcement. Please, it's time for our cultural night. Let's have everybody go to their rooms and come back with their cultural attire.